Yo, what is up guys? And today we're going to be talking about if you guys should be pulling for the two banners that are currently running as a rerun featuring Roana as well as her artifact Touch of Rekos and also Tenebria as well as her artifact Crimson Moon of Nightmares. And we're just going to be talking about, if you want to spend your bookmarks pulling for these units and if you want to spend your Powder of Knowledge to actually buy these artifacts that they come with on their banner. Now both of these banners guys, they're both reruns, so they'll be lasting only a week. This banner of Roana and Tenebria will only be lasting until the 20th of April, so you guys want to make sure you guys actually pull for them before then if you decide to pull for them before their banner ends, and also make sure, like always, that you always have enough for pity so you don't get screwed over, because pity does not carry over to the next banners for the Covenant RGB 5-star banners. So starting off, let's talk about Roana. Now, pretty cool feature by the way. If you look at the bottom right here where I'm clicking, you'll see there's actually going to be, the areas of content that these units are used in. So we'll talk about that very quickly. But looking at her skills first, let's look at what Roana actually does. So her S3 is an AoE heal that heals pretty heavily actually with a barrier after her buffs, and will also put revive buff for 2 turns. So just a huge AoE heal that will pretty much make it so that your team can't die for 2 turns following this because of that revive buff. Next, we have her S2. This is going to be the biggest reason why you choose Roana. This skill is super broken, even though it doesn't seem like it. It is a passive ability, and you're going to see every time one of your allies is hit by an extra attack, counter attack, or dual attack, you will CR push everyone and also heal everyone. And this heal will scale with Roana's max HP, which will end up being very high. So the heal is very powerful. This skill is very good in a lot of areas of content, especially bosses with extra attacks or dual attacks, obviously. And in PvP, this is extremely good against dual attacking units and counter attacking units. Very good against like Bellion. Roana becomes like a very hard counter to Bellion. Very good against like Seaside Bellona, good against like Violet, just anything that can counter, with their abilities, and anything with like an extra attack or dual attack such as like Lilius and Concorlius. She's also pretty good against those units as well, because when you fight those enemies, you'll actually be constantly healing and constantly CR pushing your team, which gives you a huge advantage. She becomes a very powerful counter pick in PvP because of this. Next, we have our S1 single target attack that will put a barrier on the ally with the lowest health. The barrier is pretty low actually, even if you stack on a lot of HP. But you can soul burn this also to give an AoE barrier to your team. You don't really care too much about her S1. The biggest reason why you choose Roana or use her is because of her S2, and her S3 is just a nice layer of protection in case you're about to face really heavy damage. Now, looking at the content that she's most used in, guys, first off, Epic 7 will recommend that you use her in Katie's. So she's one of the best healers for Katie's because Katie's obviously has a lot of counterattacks, a lot of dual attacks and stuff like that, making it so that you're constantly proccing her S2, like I said, which is her best ability. Also, she's very good in expeditions, as you'll see. She's very good in Ice Expedition. She is the best tank or frontline unit there because she'll be proccing her S2 over and over. And you'll also see she's recommended in PvP because, like I said, she's extremely good as a counter pick to a lot of units. I would also recommend using her in areas of content like Labyrinth. She's extremely good. You can actually use her in a auto Labyrinth team, and she'll be very powerful because of her S2 and because she has her S3 to make it so that your team can't really die if they need a big heal. Also, she's very good in adventure mode. So in adventure mode, especially starting from like episode 3, there's a lot of bosses with dual attacks, counter attacks, extra attacks, and stuff like that. And Roana makes super light work of those bosses, especially for the last boss of episode 3. She is extremely powerful. You definitely want to use her there. She's very good. Any bosses that you're fighting in adventure or just anywhere in general that have extra attacks, you can always bring Roana and she'll pretty much make that area of content super easy. So overall, guys, I think Roana is a must-have. She is one of the best PvE units in the game, and she's very good because even on pretty crappy gear, she does her job because she only really needs her passive. And also for PvP, she's very powerful as a counter pick, and she's also very good to use because of the fact that, there are a lot of counter-attacking units in the current meta right now, and she's also very easy to gear for PvP because, like I said, she doesn't really need any stats but HP. She doesn't even really need, like, speed because of the fact that her S3, you don't really want to use at the beginning of the battle anyways. So a pretty easy pull. I think she's a must-have if you have the bookmarks for her because she is so good. Now looking at her artifact, Touch of Rekos. So you're going to see that it will recover the HP or health of all allies after being attacked on the caster or the holder of this artifact, and this can only happen once per turn. This artifact is pretty decent, especially for AoE cleave, but the thing is there's not really a lot of AoE cleavers nowadays. You can use this on Roana, but there's so many good soul weaver artifacts. I say this every single time, like Doctor's Bag, like Idol's Cheer, which is what most people run Roana on for PvE especially. So this artifact, although it might seem very, very good, I think there's just
just a lot better option, so it's not really worth using your powder for. If you guys actually pull for this or actually get it while you're pulling for Roana, I mean, or from like a different, source of summoning, you should be happy because this artifact is pretty decent. But I think for spending your Powder of Knowledge, definitely not worth spending for, because Powder of Knowledge, you definitely want to save for those really, really good artifacts that come in the rotation, or even for like collab artifacts as well. Touch of Echoes, although it is good, like I said, there are a lot of good substitutes that are, the same strength or even better, so not really worth using your Powder of Knowledge on. Next, we have Tenebria. So Tenebria is less complicated, guys, because she's not really that powerful anymore. So let's look at her skills really quick. Her S3 is a AoE attack with a chance to defense break. This is not actually 100%, which is pretty weird. It's 85 once you Mulgora it. It will also put sleep on the enemy, which is not really relevant in PvE. Mostly going to be used for like PvP if you like to run, control teams. Tenebria is a decent control unit, as you'll see, but just keep in mind, control is pretty weak because there's so much cleansing, which makes her mostly a PvE unit. She'll also get an attack buff for herself. Her S2 will decrease CR and decrease speed, and this is pretty decent, especially for like Earth Expedition and like Golem, and also for PvP, obviously, because you can sleep, you can push CR back, and also decrease speed. Just really, really annoying debuffs to prevent the enemy from taking turns. Her S1 is a single target attack with a chance to sleep as well, and when the enemy is put to sleep, you'll actually CR push yourself. Now, this cannot trigger a dual attack because obviously if you sleep something and they dual attack with your ally, it's going to wake them up, so it makes no sense. This unit, guys, mostly, you're going to see that, she might be used for PvP because of the fact that she has so much crowd control. But honestly, you don't really use her there because of the fact that cleanses are so good. And honestly, sleep is not that great unless you're using like Sage Ball to counter like very, very fast and aggressive teams. So for that reason, you're going to see that where she's used for the most part is going to be Earth Expedition and also Secretary Vera, which is pretty... not even the best area content for her, but I guess people do use her there. She's also good in like Golem for the most part, but that's pretty much it. You won't really use her anywhere else. So I think Tenebria is, a decent unit to have for your Earth Expedition team and your Golem team, but I think she's not a must-have because you can always use a free unit from Connections, Bomb Model Kana, instead of her there, and she is just a better unit overall. So I think Tenebria is a pretty easy skip because she's just not that great right now. She definitely needs some more help, maybe even possibly a rework. Now for her artifact, guys, Crimson Moon of Nightmares. This artifact is pretty decent. It's going to be increased dual attack chance by a certain amount, and when it's not your caster's turn, increased effectiveness. You're going to see that this in PvE over time when you're autoing, you'll get a lot of value out of it because you get a lot of dual attacks. Just keep in mind that this is RNG and it's pretty crappy until you rank it up with some limit breaks because 7% is not really noticeable. But if you have a lot of copies of this, then sure, I guess you can use it on like even Tenebria herself for PvE. But keep in mind, just overall, I think this artifact is not worth buying for with your Powder of Knowledge because too much RNG built in, and honestly for PvP, guys, which is where your artifacts matter the most, because in PvE you can just use Daydream Joker. There's a lot of good mage artifacts already, right? We have like Toghouse Ancient Book being the main one, and there's a lot of other choices as well. So I think this artifact is pretty easy to skip as well. So that being said, Roana must pull. I think she is a definite, must have because of the fact that she's so good in PvE and PvP. Everything else, including the artifacts with Tenebria, Touch of Echoes, and also Crimson Moon of Nightmares, I think they're just worth skipping for because, we also have like Hoochie's Secret Shop right now running. And because of the fact that, Hoochie's Secret Shop usually runs before big banners or collabs, kind of signals to me that there's going to be a collab coming up or a rerun of a limited because of the fact that, Roana is also a very good unit, and usually they only run good units before big banners to try to make money. That being said, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope this video helps you guys out, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.